You are now listening to the NYYST.
Welcome back. This is episode 196 of the NYYST podcast. I am your host, Christian, and I'm joined by my co-host, Chris.
Yo.
And Stat Guy Rye.
What up?
What's going on, fellas?
Mayor fan.
Happy birthday, bro.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Christian.
Thank you, fellas. Back in our Sunday saddle here. We've gone, 3-4 weeks recording Monday night. Now we're back here recording Sunday morning. Yankees took care of business in the American League Wild Card Series, swept the Cleveland Indians 2-0. Now we're sitting here waiting for baseball Monday night. The Tampa Bay Rays. And
would you want anyone else in the first round, like in the ALDS? I mean,
the Astros.
Nah, Astros. I want, if I'm gonna play the Astros, I want it to be in the ALCS again.
Yeah, but they're not that. I mean, they're not really that good this year. So it's like you.
Well,
it's
they
like
beat
you.
Minnesota in Minnesota. Didn't you hear Carlos Correa?
Yeah, I mean, we might have to get into that a little bit later on.
Like, that's the validation a baseball team needs to know you're good, is when you beat Minnesota and you're not home, so you can't cheat. So
I didn't want to. I know a lot of Yankee fans were ragging on Minnesota, and I didn't want to say anything because the Yankees hadn't advanced yet. But my God, dude, 18 straight postseason losses.
Let me tell you something too. You
that's,
had the entire country rooting for you. You had every single baseball fan that cares enough about baseball to watch all these games rooting for you. Outside of the Astros, outside of Astros fans, no one wants to see the Astros win. No one. And you had the whole world on your side, and you fucking blew it. You blew it big time.
This is the quote from Carlos Correa. I know a lot of people are mad. I know a lot of people don't want us here, but what are they going to say now?
You're going to say you beat a team that's now lost 18 consecutive postseason games.
I mean, you're a loser. You're a loser. Before we get we got it. Listen, we got a lot of stuff to get to. We got a lot of Yankee postseason stuff. But first, support for this episode of the NYYST podcast brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below the waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology developments to provide you the best tools for your grooming. You've been hearing us talk about them for like 4 weeks now, about our balls. Seriously, check out the Lawnmower 3.0. It's their third generation trimmer, which features a cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to advanced skin safe technology pioneered by Manscaped.
I'm actually wearing the Manscaped boxer shorts today.
How fucking comfortable are those, dude?
It's like, you know what? I know we have women that listen to this show, so I don't want to get.
There's like three women.
We don't want to get too into what it's like, but it's really comfortable. It's almost as if you're wearing nothing at all.
It really is. Like, if you're a free baller but you need the support, you go to manscaped.com, you use promo code NYYST20, you save 20% off with free shipping. Again, that's NYYST20. Head over to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping off your entire order.
Like, I know people are like, "Oh, I'm not shaving my pubes. I'm not trimming my ball hairs."
Like, dude, it's 2020. We're not in the 60s anymore.
First of all, that's your prerogative. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. You don't have to. I'm not advocating for it. It's a comfort thing for me, so that's why I do it. But you don't want to spend the money. You don't want to do all that bullshit. Fine. Then we move on. Say, get the ball deodorant. Who doesn't need less smelly balls?
Right.
You're like, oh, I don't need, my balls smell fine. Fine, bro. But you need these boxer shorts. There's no man on earth that doesn't need comfortable underwear.
Yeah, let me tell you something. These were phenomenal. And you know what? That's the thing too. It's more hygiene than it is anything else. Like, you don't have to go on and get a razor. You can get the ball deodorant. You can get the foot duster, I think it is. My wife fucking will. I involuntarily will just spray it on my feet. You can get anything, and you can save 20% by using NYYST 20. And also,
and free shipping.
Please listen to me. If you're listening to the show and you're a big fan of ours, please take a second, head over to iTunes. Please leave us a 5-star rating and review. We want to hear from you. How'd you feel about the first round? Maybe you wish Christian a happy birthday or something. I don't know. Just please, if you have a second, take the time and leave us a 5-star rating and review. Now,
hey, B Rabbit, you got anything to add to that over there? Look at him, bro. He looks like Eminem from 8 Mile.
Well, I'm cold.
Back there.
I'm cold,
oh,
man.
it's
The weather.
It's freezing up
The
here
weather's
now.
getting. I feel like my mic is. No, we're good. It's probably just because I got my.
Yeah, right. It's probably the 4 layers of.
I'm wearing a hoodie,
things
bro.
you have over your ears.
I'm wearing a hoodie. Okay. I got a hoodie.
Before we move on to the Yankees, I mean, let's just wrap up this comment on Carlos Correa. I mean, this is what fans around Major League Baseball. This is why you are the most hated player in Major League Baseball, because there's just no remorse. There's just more of the cocky attitude. Like, all right, you beat the Twins, shut up and move on. That's it.
Yeah, I mean,
nobody wants to hear about you saying, oh, now what do you have to say? Oh, you won, bro. Congratulations. The Twins are the biggest fraud team in Major League Baseball.
And like, guess what? No one's.
They might even be a bigger fraud. No, they might even be a bigger fraud than the Astros, because at least the Astros, without cheating, can still go out there and win a postseason game. The Twins have lost 18 consecutive postseason games. Is there a
nearly
more
impossible? It's nearly impossible.
Yeah,
I think
it is.
Is the last postseason game they won, game 1 of the DS against the Yankees in 2004? Was that the last game they won?
Yes.
That's unbelievable. And it's not to say you're going to say, oh, that's 16 years, but they've made the postseason a lot in those 16 years.
Look, to play 18, listen, to lose 18 straight games in the postseason since 2004, that means you're making it a lot and getting eliminated very early, obviously.
So let's say that so just factor in the 2 wild card series they were in. So that's 15 game. That's 15 games remaining. That means they got swept in 3 other DSs. So they made the postseason 7 times in 16 years. That's almost half, which a lot of other teams in Major League Baseball don't have that type of success. You think that you can not win one game, and they've had leads in some of these games, like the wild card game in 2017. Like, come on, dude. Like, you're up 3-0 after, and then the Yankees win that game going away. I mean,
here's my thing.
I just think
like, from the beginning, from the second they came out with their stupid bullshit apology, it's been this chip on their shoulder the whole time. Right. Like, okay, guess I'll apologize, but guess what? We're still the fucking best team in baseball, and look what we just did.
Yeah, stop.
It's like they have a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah, you're not the victim. You were the ones who cheated. But let me ask you guys something here. I meant to ask you this. I'm glad I thought of it. What team of these 3 is the worst to be a fan of? Okay, you have the Mariners, right? They haven't been to the playoffs since '99. You have the Twins, who haven't won.
The Yankees beat them in 2001, I think.
Or 2001.
Yes.
All right, my mistake. They haven't since 2001. I think they're the.
Well, still, it's been a very long time.
Very long time, and still the longest without a playoff appearance in baseball. So you have that team. Twins haven't won a playoff game since 2004, 18 straight losses. Or now this team, the Cincinnati Reds, who haven't won a postseason round since October 6th, 1995. That was the last time they won. Was against the Dodgers in the NLDS of 1995. They come out and don't even score a run in 22 innings in 2 games in this year's postseason. So of those 3 teams, the Reds, Mariners, and Twins, which of those 3 is the worst to be a fan of? Because they're all 3 have different reasons for being really, really frustrating to root for.
Honestly, for me, I kind of take into account, okay, for instance, if the Yankees lost game 2 when they were down 4-0, if they ended up blowing that game after coming back, I would have just said, you know what, just fucking lose. Just get fucking blown out 9-0. Don't like pull at my heartstrings here.
Mm-hmm.
And in that instance, I would almost say the Twins, but at least the Twins have stayed competitive, where for 7 seasons, I've known my team was in the thick of things and I can watch baseball seriously.
Right.
I'd have to say the Reds
No, it's
Throw the Indians in there too, because they haven't won since what, 48?
Yeah, for me, it's the Mariners, dude. You just never, for 19 years, you just never have a shot.
Yeah, but dude, at least they had a guy in King Felix that they were excited to see pitch every 5 days.
Yeah, so that means they would win 20% of their games.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, at least there was some big names over there.
What
Yeah,
has
but
You had Ichiro for a while. Who have the Reds had other than Joey Votto?
I mean, they had an old Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah,
Right.
but like,
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good
come
point.
on. He was a shell of himself.
Jay
at that
Bruce, they had for a little in those early years. They had some good teams with Votto and Bruce.
I mean,
Pick your poison.
it's like a few weeks ago, maybe even a month and a half ago now, I ran a poll on Twitter and I referenced it really quick. Is like, would you rather be a team that makes the postseason 10 consecutive years but never gets to a title or never wins a title? Or would you rather be a team that in 10 years wins 2 titles, but in the other 8 years you finish last?
We talked about that on this show, actually. I don't know if you purposely
Maybe I
did
don't
that.
remember.
And I said that looking forward, I'd rather be the Yankees, who are competitive every year. But when you take the big picture, of course, I'm taking those championships. But looking forward in this instance of what I'd rather be and knowing I can't go back in time and I would rather be the Yankees, who are at least competitive and give me hope every season.
Mhm.
But of course, if you're giving me the opportunity to go back 10 years and what I would do, of course I'm taking the championships. But in the present moment, I'd rather have a team right now that's competitive every year and gives me a chance.
That's false.
What do you mean?
If I told you right now from 2021 to
But
2031
it's
that the
different
Yankees are
for
going to
me.
win 2 titles but finish last in the other 8 years, or be a 100-win team and get knocked down in the ALCS every year,
I'm
you
taking
wouldn't
the
take
championships.
right.
That's what I just said. You just don't listen to
Yeah,
me.
he
I
did
said,
say that.
if you're giving me the opportunity to go back 10 years and you're giving me that opportunity to pick, of course I'm taking the championships. But
Yeah, but
right
there's a
now,
lot of fans that would rather be competitive every
no,
year.
that's so dumb. Right now, in the present moment, if you asked me, would you sacrifice having competitive Yankee teams every year that you can at least watch until September, even when they're out of it by September, you get a full season of baseball right now in this present moment? Yeah, I'm taking what I have. And I'm not going back because I can't re-experience those things. If you're giving me the opportunity to relive my last 10 years as a Yankee fan, I'm taking the championships, of course.
Since 2000, you want to take since 04
Fuck you.
or
You ain't gonna write
you
shit.
want to take whatever. You want to take 2009 out of the equation, since even though the Red Sox have been bad and they finish last when they don't seem to make the postseason, wouldn't you rather be the Red Sox that put a couple notches
Absolutely.
on your belt?
Yeah, absolutely. But not in this present day.
No, well, not today, obviously, but if you
Yes, if
could
I'm
take
going
one,
back 10 years, I'm taking the championships.
or if I told you to look ahead, whose future would you rather have?
The Yankees.
Knowing that you could put 2 titles on your wall and be terrible the other 8 years. You want the 2 titles.
It's a little different for me because I don't enjoy other sports. Like I don't get into other sports or other teams other than the Yankees and baseball. So for you guys, if the Yankees were bad in last place, yeah, you'd still watch it and whatever, but you have other things to fall back on.
Right, what sports wise, but like
I'd
even
be
that
miserable.
but even that I'd say myself and I'd say Christian too, we're Yankee fans and everything else.
Yeah, no,
is
of course. I'm saying the
distant second.
fallback. You have
Right,
the
there's
fallback.
definitely a fallback, sure.
I'm just saying, bro, like I don't understand the idea of coming close. I'd rather win,
Yeah, you
even
have
if
to
I'm
win.
terrible.
What is coming close?
80%.
Yeah, that's why being a Twins fan has to be
And, like,
so depressing.
I'm kind of glad you brought this up because
Yeah, maybe it's better to be a a Mariners fan because you just have no
right?
hope.
Because then you have that hope. Like this year, Twins fans had hope. They were the 2 seed, right? This year, Minnesota, and they get swept again.
I'm glad you brought this up because I had a fight with someone on Twitter, and we'll get to Boone when we discuss the 2 games against Cleveland. But he posted something on one of my tweets that was like, Boone has made countless errors in his time here, and it's time to get rid of him. And I was like, did he do this during his first season of 100 wins or his second season of 100 wins? Or was it in when he made the postseason both times and made it to game 6 of the ALCS last year. Like, for me, I understand that winning is everything, right? So those 100 wins in the grand scheme of things don't matter. But when you're sitting here and telling me that a manager sucks and that he's made countless errors, you're wrong. And it does come down to wins. If your argument was he can't seem to seal the deal in the postseason, then we have a different argument here. But you're telling me he sucked since he's been here. No, he hasn't.
He definitely. I mean, you look at his record. Like you just said. I mean, there's
So
no way you can say he sucked. You
So-
could say maybe he hasn't been great. But
so
you
what was
can't
his
say
argument back to me?
What?
When we all know wins don't matter. Okay.
Okay.
When evaluating a manager, wins don't matter.
Wins don't matter.
Right.
And I gotta also give him credit though. He said he misworded what he said, and then he did. Unlike most fans who rip Boone, I asked him. I said, "Well, if they win the World Series this year, are you going to give credit where it's due?" And he said, "Absolutely. I'll gladly give credit where it's due, and be happy to be wrong." And I said, "Well, then I can respect your opinion."
Mhm.
At this point, where most fans would blame him for not making it, and then when he did, they'd just give credit to the players.
Well, I'll tell you, with this 3 batter minimum rule and the constant games, the schedule being relentless going forward, once these games get going, the manager's role is going to be magnified this year so
Absolutely.
much more than it's been the last decade. And
Absolutely.
we're going to see if Aaron Boone has what it takes to kind of help this team
Absolutely.
keep going.
So the Yankees are keeping going here. They beat the Indians 2-0 in the wild card round. Tuesday night was just a dominating performance from Garrett Cole. 7 innings, 2 runs, 13 strikeouts. Pretty much what you wanted to see out of him. He got into a little bit of trouble there. I think it was the 3rd or 4th inning. Yankees had just pulled up 3-0, and Ramirez hit that double, and then they had runners. I think they still had 2 on with 2 out. He went in there and he locked it down, and that was the last time you ever felt any type of worry in that game, because the Yankees offense just busted out in a big way against Shane Bieber, who is another one of these Indians ace pitchers that faced the Yankees in the postseason, coming off a Cy Young type. He's going to win the Cy Young,
absolutely.
Cy Young year, and just he doesn't show up in a big game. I saw tweets, people making excuses that he didn't feel comfortable on
The mound.
the mound.
On his
It's his
home
home
mound.
mound.
On his home mound.
On his home mound.
That Garrett
then
Cole
in-
also pitching on.
Right.
And
Got
then there was some Indian fans tweets saying that the Yankees had the signs, or he
Mhm.
was tipping pitches because the Yankees were ready for his fastball. So, I mean, they were making excuses for the guy, but and all in all, the Yankees took care of business on Monday night. I heard this on the radio yesterday, and I wanted to bring it up today. I mean, we really don't have to go too much into depth in the game one. Garrett Cole did what we needed him to do, go out there and dominate for 7 innings. And then the offense they completely obliterated the Indians pitching. But Aaron Judge, again, sets the tone for a playoff game with a big 2-run home run in the first inning. And then pretty much hasn't done anything since. Now, because you got to manufacture stories. Are people saying that we should, people are saying we should be worried as Yankee fans about Aaron Judge because he hasn't, quote, done anything in the postseason this year. Well, when you give your ace a 2-0 lead before he even takes the mound, I would argue that is not, that is doing something.
Considering that Cole only gave up 2 earned runs that entire game, I'd say not only did it set the tone, it put the Yankees in a position to really, if they lost, be inexcusable with your ace on the mound. And I'll say this too. I remember tweeting in the first 10 games, I think Judge had 9 home runs. I know he was hurt, but he's been back for a little while now. He hasn't hit for power since he came back. So the fact that he had 9 home runs all year, and those 9 home runs came within like the first 10 games he played, and then he comes out and sets the tone like that. That's like beyond what I was expecting from him at that point. And yeah, he hasn't done much since, but he's still Aaron Judge in this lineup now.
His last home run before that one in game 1 against Cleveland was August 11th. Got to go all the way back to the
So
11th.
he had 8 home runs, I believe, then in the first
in
the first 10 games.
Yeah.
So I mean, the fact that he came out and did
bunch.
that, and like Christian said, with Garrett Cole in the mound, that was everything. Because what's the one when we were going into that game, we're not questioning what we're getting out of Garrett Cole. We're not sitting there going, I don't know what we're gonna get out of Garrett Cole tonight. No, we know what we're expecting. Our biggest thing we were questioning is what are we going to get out of this offense? And Aaron Judge answered that question immediately.
Aaron Judge had 5 straight games with the home run.
Yeah.
This season from it was July 29th to August 2nd, and he had 2 in one of those games. So that's 6 of the 9 home runs came in 5 straight games.
Yeah, he hasn't hit for power since he's been back, but it just it goes to the point of it's not what you do, it's when you do it. If Aaron Judge hit that home run in the 9th inning of Wednesday's game, he's a hero.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You know, he's the guy that put the Yankees on top, or extends the lead to where you don't have to worry about the bottom of 9th or whatever. But I'll argue that if the Yankees make a deep run here where they're in the World Series, that's as big of a hit as any that they might have gotten in this entire postseason run. That the fact that you put your ace on the mound with a lead is you can't underscore how big that is.
I tweeted this right before the game. I said early and often has never been more relevant to any team than it will be for the Yankees. And I said, you got to put pressure on Garrett Cole. I tweeted it. You got to put pressure on Garrett Cole to hold the lead instead of putting pressure on this offense to break through a deficit here, because that's going to make the difference. Mm-hmm. I said the team who scores first is going to win this game, and I was right. And you can argue, a rational fan can argue that if Aaron Judge doesn't hit that home run in the first inning, and if the Yankees don't set the tone that way,
right,
that maybe we're having our therapy session right now, and the Yankees don't win those 2 games.
Maybe Bieber turns it around. And to add to your point, Christian, about fans may be saying that Judge isn't there yet, and he hasn't had that big hit, but you look at the precedent set by the Yankees and in terms of first inning home runs in the postseason and how important it's been for them. This year, that set the tone. You look at against Oakland in that wild card game, was that 2 years ago? Judge sets the tone there. You look at the biggest postseason home run other than DJ LeMahieu's against Houston last year in the postseason for the Yankees was Didi Gregorius' first inning home run against the Minnesota Twins. So it might not have come in the 9th inning, but that first inning to set the tone is just as, if not even more important when you're a team like the New York Yankees. So first inning, 9th inning, I don't care. Big
since the Yankees have been playing the Indians, I appeared on Munch's
hell of a job
show
with Munch too, bro.
Thank you. Out in Ohio on Tuesday morning and Wednesday morning, talking about these games, and I made the point that Stanton hits a monster home run in the 9th inning in game 1, where he makes it 11-2, and people are 12-2. I'm sorry, and people are like, typical Stanton home run, game doesn't count. But here's my point. And we go back to the 7th inning where Stanton has runners at first and second. He hits a little dribbler, weak ground ball, whatever it was, to first base, advances the runners over, allows Urshela to come up with a sac fly. The Yankees score 4 runs in that inning, sets up an entire inning. These are the types of things that we talked about that you have to do in the postseason. It doesn't matter if the score is 15-0. In the postseason, there are no cheap runs. There are no unimportant runs. There are no there's just tack on runs where you need to just keep scoring and scoring and scoring. This is not the regular season. A team's not going to pull off down 8-0. And nor should the team up 8-0 start pulling off. And Stan got himself going. He had a big home run. The Yankees were down 4-0 in game 2, and they're going to say, "Oh, typical Stan, down 4-0." He got him on the board. You can't understand
setting the tone for the offense.
Can't underscore how big that is. The Yankees are down 4-0 after Tanaka pitched through a goddamn hurricane in the first inning,
literally.
And Stan comes up and hits a big home run to get them on the board and get them get them back in the game.
Yeah, and I don't know
That's-
if you remember this. You were actually at the game. It was game one against game one against the Twins last year. And he didn't do much. Like if you looked at the box score and you looked at Stanton's line there, he didn't do much, but it was the little things. He had a couple really big at bats. He had productive outs. And those are just as important right now, especially we had a whole episode last week where we talked about the Yankees' weaknesses and their holes. And my biggest point was the middle of this lineup needs to be productive. And that doesn't just mean hitting home runs every time they get up or popping ones in the gap. It means if you're going to get an out, be productive, especially with no outs on.
So let's just to add to that. All right, be productive. Stanton in that game one, he went 0 for 1, and eventually I think he might have gotten hurt in that game, but 0 for 1, 3 walks,
and they were really good at bats and
productive.
big at bats.
Yeah.
And he had I remember that at bat vividly that he grounded out. I think the Yankees had the bases loaded.
3-0
count,
right?
Yeah, he had a really good at bat. I think he was just a little over anxious, feeling the moment too much at that point. But then he settled in. I mean, 3 walks, I know you're paying the guy $25 million a year to hit home runs, but hey, if they don't want to pitch to you, they don't want to pitch to you. You got to take your base.
Yeah, I mean, those were some big moments, and yeah, he did get hurt again, right? I don't think he did play that next series, but
pulls hammy or something.
But you know what? I was thinking about this the other day. I don't want to get too excited about this offense because in the first round last year, I mean, the Yankees offense was there. They were,
and then the first game against Houston, they put up 7 runs, I believe, too. So they were there in that game one, and then they totally disappeared.
Yeah, I mean, this offense needs to continue. I got to give the Yankees credit, man, because you look at the score and you say, and it's easy to just say, yeah, the Yankees fucking dominated. It was 12-3, right? Was the final in game one. And then they came back in game two and put up a bunch of runs. You got to really break it down and just look at the approach from everyone, top to bottom. Outside of Aaron Hicks in his last at bat of game two, which was literally the worst at bat I've ever seen in my entire life, and that's saying a lot. The Yankees up and down, even when they didn't get the big hit and got out, they had a great approach at the plate. Top to bottom. I mean, whoever's doing those scouting reports, and I got to give Maggie Gray credit, as awful as Maggie Gray and whatever. What's his name?
Muppet.
Yeah, Malusis, right?
Yeah,
As bad as they are, I got to give Maggie Gray a lot of credit on this point, and I don't know if she heard it from somewhere else, but I'm going to give her
probably
credit.
if it's a good point.
She said you got to think about what kind of scouting report the Yankees are going to get from Matt Blake, being someone who really built Shane Bieber up when he was up and coming.
She didn't Matt Blake up with that on her own.
She definitely didn't. But like Matt Blake and Shane Bieber gives a lot of credit to Matt Blake for where he is right now. And you got to imagine that Matt Blake had a good scouting report. Hey, don't swing at this guy's off speed. Wait for that fastball. He uses that fastball in the zone to get a strike. Those curveballs he throws all year, the reason why he has so many swings and misses is because most of the time they're nowhere near the strike zone. His stuff is just that good. So if you can pick up on when that curveball's coming, just don't swing. And that's what the Yankees did every single at bat. They waited for that fastball and they capitalized.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great performance in game one. And then Major League Baseball really screwed the pooch in game two. They delayed the game by 50 minutes right into the storm.
Right.
I mean, look, it wasn't great when Carrasco pitched, but I mean, like, you were looking at like a disaster movie scene when Tanaka was on the mound in the bottom of the first inning there. I mean, yeah, everybody talked up playoff Tanaka, and he had a clunker. There's no doubt about it. He was probably due for one, but also, I mean, after the first inning, when he was pitching under normal circumstances, he settled in. He gave the Yankees 3 scoreless innings to allow them to get back into the game. He was the one charged with the 2 runs in the 50th, even though Chad Green came in and gave up the home run to the double to Ramirez. But he settled in. He allowed the Yankees to to be able to come back in that game and take a 6-4 lead, which again, these are things that cannot be understated. You look at Tanaka's final line score, he gives up 6 runs in 4+ innings or whatever it was. And you're like, wow, he sucked. He was terrible. But then you watch the game and you're like, okay, well, you know what? He gives up a couple of runs in torrential downpour, comes back out after a 40-minute delay, gives up a couple more runs, and then he settles himself down for 3 innings, allows the offense to come back and score. That's important. These are, you allowed to, because if Boone if he comes out there in the second inning and doesn't have anything, and Boone's in that bullpen in the second inning, the Yankees are playing a game Thursday night.
You know what's funny too? That was the first time we saw Tanaka struggle really in the postseason. So you look at, all right, let's compare playoff Tanaka to regular season Tanaka. Playoff Tanaka, he's going to put out great starts, but that was the first time we're seeing him struggle. And when you see Tanaka struggle in the regular season, it totally implodes in the game. It's a wash pretty much right away. So for him to come out and struggle and not have his best stuff, but still keep this team in it, that's just another sign that this guy is a different pitcher in the postseason.
Yeah, and I got to say, during that game with Tanaka, I started to get a little nervous, and I'm not giving him the excuse with the weather, even though that was just fucking insane. And who knows what he would have had coming out without that weather, with good weather. But his last start really wasn't the sharpest for him in 2019 in the postseason. He gave up 3 earned runs, 4 runs total in 5 innings. And that was the most earned runs he had given up in a postseason game. In his last 2 postseason starts, he has 9 earned runs given up. Every other game before that combined that he's pitched, which is 7 other games in the postseason, he's only given up 6 total.
All right, so Jordan Montgomery starts game 2 then.
No. Well, here's what I was going to say also. Outside of the games where in the regular season where Tanaka's going up against Darvish, or he had another one, I forget which one it was a couple years ago, but some of his best games have been against the Rays. I remember last year, 100%. Masahiro Tanaka had one of his best regular season performances ever against the Rays. I'm confident that you're going to see a different pitcher. You're going to see more of the playoff Tanaka in game 2 of this series.
Well, I think things that you brought up Boone earlier, so I think maybe we could talk about his bullpen usage in this game. I liked how he was really aggressive with Green and Britton. Here's the thing about Chad Green, though. He got bit by throwing that slider to Ramirez, and then he just realized that people couldn't hit his fastball.
Yes, and he turned it on, and they couldn't touch him.
I mean, Chad Green, he doesn't throw the hardest. I think, what is he really top at? 95, 96?
He's got a hard fastball, dude.
But
that comes in hard.
He's got must have late life, some type of movement on it.
Yeah.
Because guys, when his fastball is at its peak, guys can't hit him.
Yeah. He's got to rely on it more.
And I understand that you want to show something different. You don't want to be a one-dimensional pitcher, and maybe he didn't realize it in the at-bat to Ramirez that guys couldn't hit his fastball. But man, he got bit by the slider, and I don't think he went back to it for the rest of his outing.
Yeah. If we're going to talk about Boone, I got to be really critical of Boone in game 2. I thought he did a terrible job. And it wasn't in the situations that everyone was complaining about. Like, for me, going to NYYST there was not a bad move. I don't think
it's a terrible move.
I didn't think so at all at that point. My biggest concern was NYYST gets out of that inning. That's it now. You got to go to someone else there. And he just leaves him in, and I'm just sitting there going, you cannot lose this game. And you absolutely can't lose this game with Jonathan NYYST on the mound.
Yeah, I just don't think he wanted to go to Chapman there. He ended up going to Chapman there. I don't think he wanted to, and I don't think he has any trust in anybody else in that bullpen right now.
Yeah. For me, I'm sorry. I'm losing with Adam Ottavino on the mound before I'm losing with Jonathan NYYST on the mound. I'm sorry.
Where did Ryan go?
I don't know. I think he's pulling a Tyler Wade.
Look, dude, I understand from that perspective because I even tweeted that Jonathan Loáisiga is never the answer. I don't want to see him pitching high leverage spots in the postseason. I understand the Yankees are they're short. They really only have 3 guys in that bullpen that Boone has any trust in. But my goodness, dude, can you? I mean, is Holder real? I mean, is Holder the guy in that spot? Then you want Holder in the 8th inning?
I'm
I mean,
shocked he didn't go to Holder more because Holder had a really good year. I mean, Holder was really solid for the Yankees this year.
he's so feast or famine though.
Yeah.
With Holder, Holder can completely destroy a game in a matter of seconds. But then he has these outings where he looks like he could be a reliable piece to the bridge.
Yeah, and you got to give Stat Guy Rad credit here because he's been saying this since the guy went down that Tommy Kahnle was going to be their biggest blow out of all the
where did you hear that first? Where did you hear that first?
Yeah, it was here, and we took a whole episode last week. We took a whole segment where we said that was going to be what hurt them the most, and the Yankees' entire season.
That seemed to be a big story in this series.
Yeah,
then,
yeah,
sudden,
because
right?
because without Tommy Kahnle in that game too, the Yankees' season's almost thrown away. Because I'm telling you right now, and I tweeted this too. I tweeted that when the Yankees went down 4-0, I said they will win this ball game. Just hang in there, they'll win it. And then later on in the game, they had a lead, and I said it's still to be determined if I'm right about this tweet, but there's one thing I can be sure of: if the Yankees lose this game, they're not winning Game 3. You're not going to beat a team 12-3, demoralize them, and then come back from a 4-0 deficit off a huge grand slam from Gio, and then continue to give the lead back and then lose that game and then come out and win a Game 3 when you have a guy like J Happ or whoever pitching in that game and you're depleting your bullpen. You are not winning Game 3. So the Yankees had to win that game too.
You wanted to say that Boone did a bad job, but Boone managed this game to win it. He did. I have to say that
there were a couple things that I just didn't agree with.
But would you say he managed this game to win it? I think.
Absolutely. I mean, when you're bringing Chapman in that instance, when he did, you're obviously playing to win it. For you. It's really an elimination game in your mind at that point.
See, I hated the move to Loáisiga just because I don't trust him. And if you're gonna, and I know a lot of people are saying, if you're going to bring in Chapman in the 8th, why not start him in the 8th inning? Why just give him the 8th inning? And I understand
that too.
And I understand, but I got to be fair. I understand why Boone doesn't want to have to rely on Chapman for 2 innings there, especially when they don't have the lead.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, to me,
right? They weren't up at that point.
To me, no. I thought it before.
It was a tie. No. It was a tie.
Do you have your other earbud near the microphone?
Right. No, they weren't.
No, it's behind me.
So now you swap Loáisiga's role will now be, I think NYYST just hopped over him in the depth chart.
Oh God, another guy, dude. It's just like,
dude, I feel like we kind of undersell NYYST's importance to this team. He actually, if you look at his numbers, he's been a pretty damn good pitcher considering his role for this team.
Yeah,
I think we need to start giving him a little bit of credit for what he's been able to do in that role. I'm not saying he's a great pitcher, but if you look at that role and you look at around baseball, I mean, the guy has to be one of the better long relievers in all of the game right now.
All right, if you want to poke holes in what Boone did with his bullpen on Wednesday in Game 2, here's what I would say is, again, it's because he took out Green in the middle of an inning. So you have to go to Britton there. Because really what I would have done is given Loáisiga the spot right after Chad Green, but you can't do it in the middle of an inning. Because I don't want to be left with just my closer when I got Loáisiga in the game.
See, that's
Green's
why
Green's got to be the first guy out of the bullpen. Absolutely no question about it. And he took out Britton in the middle of an inning. So you can't go. Britton's your, I guess, again, they're Britton's your guy to go to. But if there was a way to get Loáisiga to start an inning after Green there, that's probably where I'm going.
That's where Ottavino would come in then, yeah. I think.
Do you think I'm being unfair to say, to me, Britton really did a terrible job? I mean,
He did, but he didn't. I mean,
he did, but he didn't. I know, but you can't go into that
no,
next
you
inning
can't. No,
and
with
walk two
2
guys.
outs and walk 2 guys. No, that's terrible. It's a
You
terrible
just
job.
can't
on
do
his
it.
part.
You can't do it. This is the postseason. You can't
Yeah.
put your manager in that type of situation, especially again when we talked about this when you went downstairs, right? That your point of Tommy Canley being the biggest blow.
Oh my God.
When
yeah.
you don't have Tommy Canley to bridge that gap to the next guy that you're going to hand it off to, you can't go out there and walk 2 guys.
Mm-mm.
I mean, you just can't.
Nope.
And to me, as bad as I think Boone was in game 2, which is my own opinion, I think Zach Britton, if I was going to blame this game on anyone, as unfair as it may seem, I'd blame it on him at
Sure.
that point if they lost.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be doing that. Again, that's you can't be walking guys. You're just asking for trouble. You really are.
I mean, and on
And-
top of that, not only were the 2 walks bad, but he goes to Loizaga to get the righty in Luplo, I think it was, who batted 192. He batted 192 this year. And he has him,
No, it was
I think he had him 0-2.
Was it the righty? Yeah, because they
Yeah.
didn't
Yes, it
want
was. They
didn't want Naylor, who as quickly ascended to the top of my most hated people in baseball list.
Yes.
Facing Britain, which Sandy Alomar should. I don't know how Cleveland Sports Talk Radio reacted to that, but dude, he's your hottest hitter. I don't care lefty. How
Is
you gonna take
Francona
him out of
making
the
that
game?
move though? Is it Francona? I heard he's there in like a room.
Yeah, but I don't think I don't think he's actively managing.
Yeah, no, they said he was.
Was he?
They said he was still making calls, just not in the bullpen, just not in the dugout.
I don't know. That doesn't seem like something that Francona would do.
Well,
I think he would trust his.
I said to Rye at the time, I actually didn't think it was a terrible move, only because Francona is the guy who, to create sparks in his team, he's going to press your hand. And he knew that Loizaga was warming up, and there was 2 runners on at that point. He made Boone go to a guy who they didn't have a lot of trust in and say, okay, get this guy out. And he couldn't. He had him 0-2 and he gave up a fucking double. And I think that's where the brilliance of Francona comes into play. As crazy as that move seemed at the time, he made Boone take Britton out, who you trust way more, no matter who's up at bat, than you do Jonathan Loizaga in a big playoff game. And he made him go to him. And they won. They won that battle. So I didn't, at the time, I actually was one of the very few who didn't think it was the dumbest move in the world.
I mean, maybe the dumber move was Alomar taking out Carrasco there and going to Wild Thing. How about that guy?
Let me tell you
Wearing number
something.
99.
Well, just to correct you, because I knew I was right and you were wrong. This was on the 29th that the Indians team president announced that Terry Francona would not manage in the postseason.
Okay, so that wasn't me that was wrong. It was the ESPN announcers who had the
No,
wrong.
because if I remember correctly, they all were talking about Sandy Alomar making the moves, not Terry Francona.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure Francona was there watching the games, but
Oh,
he wasn't managing.
okay. Well, I like the move. I
Can
didn't
you
hate
just
it.
like, don't you think that I sorry if I say this wrong. Karen Chak is the pitcher that came in for Carrasco in that game. Like you can't wear number 99, do the hair like Wild Thing, come out to your intro song, the Wild Thing, and then give up a grand slam like that.
No,
Like,
you're a loser.
like you have to change your next year. You have to change your number. You have to shave your head,
Yeah.
and you need to come out to a boring basic song or
No,
something.
you can, because Wild Thing was terrible in Major League
Right.
2.
It's true, and it was game 2. So,
But for me, that was the biggest mistake. I was shocked when he pulled Carrasco at that point. And not because it wasn't warranted, I don't think. Like, I know he was getting into trouble, but it's Carlos Carrasco.
Let him be the one that.
If that
Yeah,
inning
but they
went up-
said he doesn't have the stamina to go deep in games, so
Mm.
I wasn't really surprised by it. I thought
Yeah,
maybe it was
his
a
pitch
little
count was
early,
pretty
but
high.
I think he was in the 70s. He said he really hasn't built up stamina to really give them much more than 5 innings, and the Yankees had started to wear him down a little bit by that point.
73 pitches up until then.
I'm huge in Akron, Ohio. I don't fucking question what I know about the Indians.
Huge.
All right, so a few other things from game 2 here that we need to get into. Look at my rundown
I think
here.
it's that third base thing we got to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, while we wrap up the bullpen here, before we move on to the 3Gs, I gotta, you gotta give a lot of credit to Aroldis Chapman.
Yeah,
I know
you
he's not
really do.
everybody's favorite player. He's kind of a scumbag in real life, but
Yes.
I mean, it's the weirdness of being a fan where you just gotta ignore that shit when you want your team to win. And he was phenomenal. He really was.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
people will
and
get on him for giving up that one run, but really, when you look at what he did,
I mean, it wasn't really his. It wasn't his
no,
run.
it was an inherited runner.
I understand that he's got to, you're being brought in there to not allow that run in, but he was in a tough spot there. And it wasn't a hard hit ball. A guy finds grass in the outfield there. It was the only hit that he gave up in his appearance. And really what saved his ass was Gio Urshela's double play where he made the play from his ass. But then in the 9th inning, man, that was as good as we've seen Aroldis Chapman. And, Gary Sanchez, of course, had to make things a little interesting and have Aroldis Chapman get 4 outs in that 9th inning. But, Chapman, he was great on in game 2. There's no other way you can say it.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably the best we've seen him look in a postseason. It actually was the first time I watched Chapman and came out of it saying, you know what? I trust him a little more.
Mm-hmm.
I've never felt that with Aroldis Chapman. He's always given me something where I just still don't trust him. Man, I want him on the mound to close out games.
I mean,
Start calling him
really
playoff Chapman. I think he does well in the postseason. If you date back to Chicago,
not against the Astros last year.
Yeah, not against the Indians either, dude. He gave up a big home run to Rajay Davis in game 7 of that World Series.
But
you got to give him a lot of credit. I mean, a lot of credit. Not only was he close
a postseason game.
Not only did he close the door, he did it in a dominant fashion.
I'm calling him playoff Chapman. 38 2/3 innings pitched in the postseason, 10 earned runs. That's good for a 2.33 earned run average, 58 strikeouts in those 38 2/3 innings.
Yeah, but again, it's when he gives up the runs, though. I mean, he was great. He still needs to give me an entire postseason of
I forgot about the Altuve slider, but fuck that, dude. He knew it was coming.
Sliders and the players.
Before that Houston, that Altuve home run, he hadn't allowed a run in the postseason since 2017 series against Houston. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting, Houston, right? Very interesting. So, the Yankees probably don't win game 2 without the 3Gs, Gio, Gary, and Giancarlo. As we said earlier, Stanton with the big home run in the 2nd inning to get the Yankees on the board, get them feeling like they have a shot in this game. He had a sac fly later on in the game too. Was a big run for them. And then, you got Sanchez there who anybody can and I understand it's the worst, literally the worst possible time because it's the final out of the game with the pass ball. But we're not even in a situation where Chapman's able to close out the game if Gary doesn't drive in 3 runs in that game.
Right. Because Gary also had a sac fly now.
Yeah, in the 9th inning, where I'm telling you, even the most diehard, and I'm in this category, Gary Sanchez supporter is fully expecting him to strike out in that spot, and he
absolutely didn't. Actually, I said to Ryan at that point because who was on deck?
I thought Ryan was sleeping.
Who was on deck at that point?
What?
LeMahieu,
right? I said to Ryan at that point, I'm like, honestly, just give me anything but a double play at this point, please. And he really exceeded expectations at that point because
you're just
put the ball in play.
You're almost hoping that he strikes out because you're like he's gonna hit a 2-hopper to short, and that'll be the end of the game.
Right, because I was so confident, especially the fact that DJ was 0 for 4 at that point, that he was going to come through there, and I just didn't want to double play. I mean, that was the only thing I was hoping against.
Christian, you said what, 3G?
3G.
I'm going for the series even faster speed, 6G.
Yeah.
We had 6Gs that dominated this series for the Yankees, and Gardy, Gary, Gio, Garrett, Giancarlo, and Glaber.
Yeah.
6G.
Yeah, Glaber had a big game in
Game
game one. And did he? Am I reading this right? Yeah, a couple walks.
Are your headphones plugged in all the way? Because I can hear myself talking.
Yeah, they're plugged in all the way.
Yeah, 2 walks in game 2.
Again, these are little things that, you can't be understated there. He didn't score any runs, but that's not on him really. The guys behind him have to drive him in. But you got to get on base in the postseason. So,
oh yeah.
What were we just talking about? I forget
Gary.
already.
Talking about Gary's sack fly.
Yeah, and dude, that home run that he hit was completely win-aided. I think we all know that. But again, it's a situation in the postseason in a big spot where he didn't strike out. Things happen when you put the bat on the ball.
Hey, listen, for a guy who I think the stat was he had the most balls hit over 100 and something miles per hour, which normally a vast majority of the time would result in a hit, didn't for Gary, where bad breaks have just been, he's just gotten so much bad luck this year. Even when he hits the ball well, he just never put it together. For this guy at this point in time, if there was anyone who deserved a ball hit in the air for the wind to carry it over the fence, it was Gary. And you know what? Call it whatever you want to call it. Call it a fucking pop fly that carried. I don't care. At the end of the day, it was a home run. And it really took the game in a different direction at that point. And it was awesome. You had to be happy about it. Whether you wanted to blame the wind or not, you had to be fucking happy Gary finally did something.
Oh, yeah, man. The fact that, like we said, you got to put the bat on the ball in those situations. I'm looking at the screensaver for Netflix right now because I saw it earlier that the trial of the Chicago Sevens running on the scroll here.
Is it released?
They put out a new trailer for it. It comes out, I think, October 16th.
It's that guy Ryan, a big motion picture.
Yeah, you'll see me if you watch it. Look for me. I'll be in the courtroom.
If it's up for Best Picture, do you get a fucking...
Yeah, I'll get an Oscar. No, I'll get the actual... They'll actually send me the award. No, I won't get an invite. I don't think anyone will this year. Maybe I'll get a Zoom link.
Oh, yeah?
That'd be cool. We'll all fucking crash that party. Yeah, I mean, and then Giancarlo, as awesome as that home run was, the sac fly was just as great. And then didn't he get an out where he moved the runners over too, or was that Gary?
The first game?
Yeah, first game.
Oh, okay. So I mean, you gotta give Stanton.
Productive.
Yeah, you gotta give Stanton a lot of credit this series. I know everyone who hates him wants to just put up excuses as to why his shit didn't matter, but they did. Every at bat, almost every at bat resulted in something productive. A majority of his at bats.
It seemed like everybody had some sort of contribution to this series win.
Come on, let me see the fucking thing, bro.
Except Loiza.
And then I know Christian's just looking at a fucking TV screen at this point,
because I'm looking for Ryan on TV, bro.
And then
can we just say Ryan was in Call Me the Midwife and be done with it?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, fine.
And then fucking Gio, dude. I mean, Jesus God. What more can you ask from a player?
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't have that connection with the players. Chris almost just fell off his chair. With the players as much anymore, because the older you get, you realize they're making a shit ton of money. There isn't that player fan connection. But when you see a guy like Gio Urshela, he's not making a lot of money. He was sold to the Yankees for what do we say, a Sonata, a Honda?
25 grand.
Yeah, and to do that against your former team, to watch that guy round the bases, I felt proud as a Yankee fan to be able to root for this guy and see the journey that he's gotten to that point of rounding the bases and stepping on home plate, and to be able to contribute and help your team and do it against the team that gave up on you.
Well, yeah,
was pretty awesome. That was one of my favorite fan moments I've had in a long
when
time.
Gio was asked what was different, like what made him turn it around coming to New York, he's like, they just gave me a real shot.
Mhm.
They took me seriously. They worked with me. And I don't think he was trying to put down the Indians as much as he just was showing his appreciation to the Yankee organization in giving him a real chance to be a good player and to bring out
And he is a good player.
dude. Let me tell you something. I said this to Christian the other night. This is a guy who had a grand slam when the Yankees were down 4-1 to give them a lead. And you're sitting here and going, is that what made him the player of the game? Or was it the fucking
Double play. Here
or
it
was
is.
it the double play?
The trial of the Chicago 7 coming October 16th.
There we
Boom.
go.
And it's a picture of the courthouse. So that's
The picture of Ryan
Singh.
Sleeves.
Yeah, maybe I'm in there.
I think it's after, if you're watching the screensaver for Netflix, I think it's like after Moesha.
And you're going, if I had to pick one thing Gio did, would it be the ninth inning at bat where he had 2 strikes on him and he just stuck his bat out and hit it up the middle to keep a rally going?
Again, those
Was
are
it the
things that
double
people
play?
don't take into consideration how big something like that is.
Let me tell you something. If Gio Urshela is not playing third base, and if you had the question of why isn't Miguel Andujar on this roster, you got your answer when Gio Urshela made that play, because they just don't need him. If he's not at third base, the Yankees are not advancing to the ALDS, and I will say that I will fucking believe that till I die, because they're not winning Game 3.
Not the way they made it,
And to even get to that point, Gio Urshela's grand slam, and then to further the game and to come back, it's Gio Urshela again.
Yeah.
I mean, when we look back in 5-10 years from now and talk about the single most dominant offensive games and defensive games from any Yankee in a postseason game, you're gonna go back to Game 2 of the AL wild card against the Indians with Gio Urshela, and that will
100%,
always be a game you go back to. It was that good.
Okay.
I mean, Jesus, unreal.
Okay. I told you Gio was good. Okay.
I told you the guy was good.
All right, everybody wanted Andujar, okay, but I knew from deep down in the bottom of my heart, okay, that Gio Urshela, okay, was the future for the New York. Okay.
I love how people were pulling receipts too on after Game 2 when they found the tweet when the Yankees announced they acquired Urshela.
And everyone
And just how
fucking
stupid,
loser.
how just stupid people were acting.
Yeah. They were acting pretty stupid if you remember when they got DJ LeMahieu too, instead of Manny Machado, which I'm not putting down Manny Machado. I mean, if you watch the Padres in their series, he had some big hits, but
Yeah, I mean, would you do it over again? If you could?
yeah,
Would
I
you
mean,
get-
come on, dude. If you go back to the DJ LeMahieu accusation and then acquisition and then look at what the fans said to that Cashman's being cheap. The Yankees will never spend big money on anyone. And they ripped that apart. And now they're
Those are who are the who's this fan base in love with more than Gio and DJ LeMahieu?
yeah, I mean, come on, dude. I mean, and Luke Voigt, I mean, you want to talk about a steal for the guy who hit the most home runs in baseball.
I'm reading the comments from a Reddit thread of when the Yankees signed Gio Urshela or got Gio Urshela from the Blue Jays. Look at this, one of the top comments. This is sarcastic, by the way. I knew a contender was going to pick up Urshela. Need him for a deep playoff run. The versatility. And now look at it 2 years later. If it's not for Gio Urshela, the Yankees may not be able to go on this deep playoff run that we might see them go on right now.
To be fair, I mean, the guy just didn't exist offensively.
No, I mean, you got sold for $23,000, dude. I mean, I understand that point, but it is pretty awesome to look back on that. If I'm Gio, I'm going back to all of these threads.
The point is, we're not scouts and GMs for a reason, and these guys are.
Right.
And I said this, like, people want to rip Cashman when this team is in the shitter, and I don't blame them. I think someone needs to be held accountable, whether it be Boone or Cashman. But you can't sit here and tell me he doesn't put He doesn't structure a lot of talent. And now you're seeing when your talent performs to the best of their ability, how fucking scary this team is. So sometimes you got to look at it and say, okay, we know now what Gio is. We know what DJ is. We know what Judge is and Stanton. If these guys aren't going to perform on the big stage, how is that the GM's fault? Because we know what they're capable of when they do. I mean, everyone keeps saying you can't win, you can't go deep in the playoffs with a home run hitting lineup. And I say back to them, is it the lineup that's sitting there that they constructed saying we just need to get home run hitters? Or is it their environment? I mean, or is it the fact that they have a short porch where they play majority of their games and these guys hit home runs? I mean, no, what doesn't go far in a postseason run is a team that doesn't produce and show up. When this team shows up, even against the best pitchers in baseball, they will win. They just need to show up. And it's something that the Yankees were streaky with all year, and they really turned it on in the biggest 2 games, obviously, of the season.
Okay. So I think that we can put a bow on the Indian series there, right?
Oh, one more thing I want to say.
Okay.
Gary Sanchez will never get credit for this, but
he makes a hell of a grilled cheese sandwich.
No, peanut butter and jelly. When DJ, first of all, very uncharacteristic of DJ to throw that ball high coming into home plate on that relay. Because if DJ makes a good throw, he's out by a mile. I forget who else was on base, if there was anyone. But Gary fucking got up, got that ball, which a lot of catchers wouldn't, and came down and made a competitive tag where the Yankees challenged it. And if he was out at that point, Yankee fans wouldn't give him any credit ever. But I actually think Gary was really good behind the plate. Other than that 9th inning pass ball or wild pitch. It was actually a wild pitch, wasn't it?
Oh, pass ball.
It was a pass ball. Yeah. I mean, it was bad. But I thought he was pretty good behind the plate, too. I thought Gary had an all-around great game.
Okay, you thought Gary had a great game. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So now took care of the Indians. Now it's not the main event because there would still be 2 more rounds after this, but I think this is the series everybody kind of wanted and is really looking forward to. The Yankees and the Rays will begin Monday night in San Diego. 5 straight days. Should it go 5 games? Garrett Cole will be on the mound Monday night, right? Obviously, he's pitching game 1.
I don't know if they've announced Snell yet.
Yeah, no, Snell is listed on MLB at bat, and then Glasnow is listed in game 2. The Yankees are TBD, but I'm assuming it's going to be Tanaka, and then the Rays have Morton listed for game 3. And the Yankees are also TBD, which I would expect, but I'm gonna say the Yankees are gonna throw Tanaka in game 2. I don't see why they would change from that.
No,
so it's gonna be Snell, Glasnow, Morton for the Rays, and Cole and TBD for the Yankees so far. That's what's been announced. The game times are 8:10 Monday, 8:10 Tuesday, and then 7:10 on Wednesday. So there you go. It's gonna be interesting because. For me, it's even though without fans and the shortened season and blah, 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 it still really felt like baseball because you were playing in home ballparks. It's going to be different now because you're playing in a neutral site for the rest of the postseason.
I mean, for this round, thank God. It just Ryan made this point the other day. I think I'd give up home field games just for the sake of not playing at the Trop.
Yeah, if you told me this year that the Yankees are going to have to have the playoffs where you won't be able to play at Yankee Stadium and you won't have fans, but you'll play the Rays and you won't have to play in Tropicana,
I'd
sign me up.
Day.
Sign me up
every day. But for me, I think that, well, first I want to say this. Aaron Boone was asked about Davy Garcia and if he'll be using him strategically out of the bullpen. He said no. He said he's here to start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he profiles better as a starter, I'd say.
Oh my God, bro! Like I dude, I hear people screaming about why Davy Garcia wasn't used in game 2 as a reliever. You,
I saw
after,
I saw glimpses of times where I could have put him in, but I wasn't saying it was a bad move not
And it
to.
seemed like those glimpses they were considering Montgomery anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
yeah,
that
but we
first
remember
reliever
how
when
Yankee.
Tanaka was
We
struggling.
remember how people were acting when Clark Schmidt got thrown into a game,
Right.
with the bases loaded, and now you're going to do that to. I mean, obviously Davy Garcia wouldn't be making his major league debut, but still, it's just not somebody I'm putting in that situation right there.
If you
Not that Loizaga was a better answer, but
no, if you want to, in my opinion, if you want to rip a manager for a move and be credible, you have to rip him while the move is made and not after the outcome. So for me, I was pissed off when Loizaga was still out there the next inning. I think Ryan was waiting for Holder to be in.
Yeah.
At that point,
Yes.
you had to go to someone else. If you were going to make
Yes.
the move to go to Loizaga and he fucked up that inning, you got to go to someone else the next inning. And I tweeted that before anything happened in that next inning because I was ripping him and I was hoping to be wrong. But too many people are ripping him after the fact. Yeah, guess what? He brings in Davy Garcia, the same people who are fighting for him to bring him in. If Davy Garcia comes in and blows it, those same people are ripping him for bringing in Davy Garcia. I mean, that's just how it goes.
I don't think we would have seen Davy Garcia in game 2 unless the game won 84 innings because of the fact that they still hadn't announced who was going to start in game 3. And I don't think they wanted it to be without a long guy, a guy that can give them length if they were going Hap, or I just don't. I think Garcia was just being safe for game 3. And I don't think that was the wrong move.
No, I don't think so at all.
So,
You think because Ryan said this too, and I thought it, but I just wasn't sure. Do you think they would have piggybacked?
It's called rousing a social issue drama with an ensemble cast.
Yeah,
You're the ensemble cast,
Yes.
bro. Do you think they would have piggybacked Garcia with Hap either way, whoever started that game?
I think we talked about this last week. I think the plan might have been to save one of those guys in case the other one got knocked out early. This way you had somebody to give you maybe three innings.
Yeah.
You know, if you had to go pull Hap in the second, you go to Green to get out of the inning, and then, you know, maybe Garcia is your guy to get you to 3-6. I mean, the Yankees were going to be in trouble with the way they used their bullpen in game 2 if they didn't win that game. I think we can all pretty much agree on that.
Do you think if the Yankees lose one of the first 2 games with Tanaka and Cole on the mound, that their chances of winning drop dramatically?
Yeah, I think if they would have lost, I think they would have lost game 2 if they lost game 1.
No. I'm talking about in this next series now. Do you think the Yankees feel that they need to win those first 2 games?
I think they need to win game 1.
Okay, so
that's
game 2 not as important to you.
Game 2 is still, I mean, you're going to put it, if you win
not
game
as
1,
important,
game 2, if you win game 1, yes. If you win game 2, then it becomes a lot if you lose game 1, then yeah, obviously you need to win game 2. But game 1 is the game they have to win.
I got to say, I'm very confident if they're going to hand the ball to Davy Garcia in one of these games, which is obviously sounds like they're going to, I'm very confident in him. I really am.
If we're looking at a game 5 situation, they're going to bring Garrett Cole back on short rest.
Absolutely. It's not even a fucking question. The people who are questioning this and saying, well, they could, no, they're going to, and they fucking.
There's absolutely no way they're going to jerk around with Jordan Montgomery in game 5 when they can bring Garrett Cole back on short rest. Absolutely no way.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, it just cannot happen.
If you trust Garrett Cole to win both his starts in the series, then you just gotta win one other game in this series.
Yeah, I mean, it won't even be a debate, in my opinion.
So game 1 is like we said this in the Cleveland series. Game 1 is going to be the most important game because you have Garrett Cole on the mound. You can't lose that game. And Snell's not a guy that's going to go deep into a game, really. He's going to give you maybe 5, get you into 6 before they go to their bullpen, which is not a joke either. Like when the Yankees get into bullpens, it's usually when you're like, okay, let's go. But the Rays have a really, really good bullpen. The Rays are really deep in their pitching staff, and that's what scares you if you want to be scared about something. Morton, Glasnow, and Snell is a hell of a 1-2-3, even though Morton's been kind of banged up this year. He might be the weakest of the three, but their bullpen is nothing to sneeze at. We've seen how they've come into games this year and just shut the Yankees down. The Yankees are 2-8 against the Rays this year for a reason, and it's because their bullpen has been able to shut down the Yankees in some of these games.
Yeah, I mean, at least at the top of my mind here, the games I think of against the Rays were the games where the Yankees offense looked the most anemic.
Yeah.
I mean, they just didn't show up. And if the Yankees can go into this series with the same approach against the Indians and put up good at bats, first of all, you got a guy in Blake Snell who has only been going 5 innings.
Yeah,
If
he
you can
hadn't
shorten
thrown
that-
more than 5 innings all year.
If you can shorten that by any means, and to at least spread their bullpen thin for the remaining couple games after, you're still doing a positive thing. You got to have a good approach. They can't go up there against Snell or Glasnow and look like a bunch of idiots.
Again, this is why game one is so important. This is the one guy that you're expecting in Garrett Cole to give you length out of it. If you're a Yankee, you know, if you're Aaron Boone, he's the one guy you're expecting to not even have to think about taking him out of the game until at least the 7th inning. And with no off days, you're going to have to break some of your rules. These guys, Green, Chapman, and Britton, are going to have to probably pitch 3 days in a row if you want to win the series. You can't be like, oh, I pitched him 2 days in a row, he's off in game 3. You can't. You want to tell me you can't extend a guy 4 or 5 days in a row? Dude, in the postseason, if a guy's telling you he's got an out in him, you're going to have to get it from him.
But
that I could,
you know, it's different this year with that. You know, I have an out in me, but you're going to have to face 3 batters if you're coming into the game. So you're taking
you can strategically, you don't have to pitch him 3 batters if you bring him in
2 outs
to get him the last out of an inning. If Green's like, I got 1 in me, Skip.
Yeah, and then he
you
throws
can bring him in with
4 straight balls, and then it's like, oh shit, this guy has to face 2 more hitters.
My elbow hurts.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I'm just looking at all their games against the Rays this year. They only scored in 2 games. In 1 game of all their 8 losses, more than 3 runs.
Wow.
And that's where you can attribute the loss to the pitching. Really, the games were pretty competitive. I mean, most of the games were really competitive. We're talking about 2 to 3 runs in every loss. 2 to 3 runs in every single loss. Their first loss, they lost 2-5, 3-5, 5-10. That's the one game they scored over 3 runs. Then they lost 2-4, 3-6, 3-4, 3-5, and 0-1. I mean, it's been the offense.
Yeah.
It
I
hasn't
really have to read it like that.
Yeah.
I hate when people do that shit. They lost 0-1.
Fuck you. I'm reading it the way I'm seeing it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, it's been the offense, and the 2 games they won,
except for Jordan Montgomery. That he had that shit.
Yeah,
that shit start after Chapman tried to kill Mike Brosseau.
That was the one game you can blame pitching that they lost. I mean, the Yankees offense needs to stay competitive.
You have to. They got to find a way to get a run in the first inning tomorrow or Monday night. They have to find a way to get
score early.
You got to keep setting the tone. We cannot understate how important that Aaron Judge home run was in this series against the Indians. Christian fucking hit it on the head, man. The guy could have went 0 for 10 the rest of the series. I think he went, 0 for 8 after that?
0 for 9, maybe.
It doesn't matter. It does not matter. What he did was invaluable at that point. He set the fucking tone, and they need to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck Blake Snell, man. I hate his guts.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. To me, Blake Snell's a scumbag. I love Tyler Glasnow. I respect the hell out of him. But fuck him too.
I'm not pitching with Rona. I got to get mine.
Yeah, he's such a douche. Seriously. That was a direct quote.
It was.
That was a direct quote.
Off his Twitch stream, yeah.
Yeah, while he's playing fucking video games.
So I think really, if we're going to look at this series realistically, the Rays can score runs. They're scrappy. They always seem to find a way to score enough runs to win a game, even though if you look at their lineup, it's not going to scare you on paper. but the Yankees they're gonna have to beat that bullpen. There's just no other way around it. And the Yankees are gonna have to uh they're gonna have to score a lot of runs too. I don't feel comfortable if the Yankees are gonna try to get into 3-2 ball games against the Rays.
No. It's just gotta, I can't say this enough. It's just gotta be the same approach. You have to have the same approach. Get on the board early, keep tacking on runs, and don't give up. No lead is big enough. No lead is big enough. Keep having, if the Yankees can have competitive at bats, we saw it last series. It doesn't matter who's on the mound. You have competitive at bats as talented as this Yankee lineup is, you will come out successful.
Because
fucking walk a sack fly, doesn't matter.
You don't want to be in a situation in game 4 and 5 where Boone can't go to Green, Chapman, and Britton.
I mean, this is
where he's got where he doesn't have his full complement. You just can't.
That's
got to give
concern.
You don't want to be in a situation where the Yankees are looking at a game 4, trying to lock down a series possibly, and he's trying to get through Loaiza, Holder, and Ottavino. Like it's just not going to happen.
Listen. You want to talk about a wild card player in this second series? It's going to be Adam Ottavino.
You're going to have to get outs from him. You're going to have to.
You're right.
You have to, dude. Yeah, you cannot avoid going to Adam Ottavino in this series.
Look at the matchups. It doesn't, whatever little advantage you can find to get Adam Ottavino in a game, you're going to have to do it. You can't avoid using him in the series. The Yankees, it might be a bold statement. I don't think the Yankees are going to win the series if they don't get big outs from Adam Ottavino.
That's what I meant by saying he's a wild card player at this point. You have to be able to rely on him. And obviously, this would be in the perfect world, perfect scenario. For me, he's the guy I'm going to if it's early in the game or middle of the game, and I have a 3 to 4 run lead. And my starting pitcher's just, emptying the tank and he's starting to walk guys. I'm going to Adam Ottavino there. I'm not going to. I'm going to try to avoid going to him in the 7th inning or later. I don't want to see Zach Britton come in and do what he did the other day and walk 2 guys and then have to go to Adam Ottavino there. I want to go to Adam Ottavino before any of that.
No, Adam Ottavino is not coming in to get somebody else out of a jam.
That's
Adam Ottavino's. No, I'm not trusting him with that.
Right. I agree. And that's why you got to, if you're going to use him, you use him early on.
To start an inning.
Right. Get him in there in a good situation, if possible. I mean, again, that's a perfect,
right.
In the perfect world, you don't want Adam Ottavino coming into a big pressure spot with runners already on in the latter half of the game. I mean,
and the Rays are going to be aggressive, and Ottavino is. The Yankees bullpen as a whole doesn't hold on runners well, but Adam Ottavino is probably the worst at it.
Yeah. Chapman's probably the worst, but yeah. Adam Ottavino.
I think Adam Ottavino is way worse, but we don't have to argue about that.
I gotta say, another huge thing from Chapman in game 2. Who was on first base at that point? For the Indians. I think it was the 8th or it was the 9th inning. And he just kept throwing over to first, man. I said throw over fucking 15 times. He was doing a great job finally holding a runner on at that point. And again, you just saw a different Chapman, but this bullpen needs to be not only be good, they need to be efficient because we have 5 straight games if it goes the distance. And the Yankees' biggest vulnerability is the bullpen being tired. I mean, we've seen it time and time again that bites them in the ass.
Yep. And other things that we can look forward to in this series or talk about as we wrap up the show here. It was a big thing when we talked about the Indian series that Clint Frazier was on the bench. Are you going to mess with that? You can keep him on the bench in this series?
Clint Frazier is not playing game 1. I'll tell you that. Because if you look at his numbers versus Blake Snell and compare it to Brett Gardner, it's not even a question because in 21 at bats for Gardner, he's 6 for 21, 1 home run. He's hitting 286 against Blake Snell, where Clint Frazier 1 for 10. hitting 100 against Blake Snell.
I've never
Same
been
thing
more
with Glass now. He's 1-for-8 against Glass now. He hasn't faced Morton, so that's where you could see him. But if you're going matchups and stats, Gardner's getting the start over Frazier.
I just got to say quickly, I've never been more happy to be wrong with the Gardner decision.
Yeah, Gardy had a huge game one.
Huge move there.
I just think we're at a point where if it's not broke, don't fix it. The Yankees won both games. Don't start trying to reinvent the wheel there. So, I mean, if you're not going to reinsert Frazier, is there any other lineup change that you could see this team making?
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up because I do have a question for you both. Is there okay? So let's just assume Gary's going to play every game that Garrett Cole's not pitching in this series, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say it goes the distance, and that's 3 games. If he goes on a fucking tear, hits a few homers, big RBIs, do you possibly see Gary catching Garrett Cole in the ALCS?
Let's see how game 1 goes.
Or even in game 5.
Let's see how game 1 goes. If Cole puts out another performance the way he did in Cleveland, you are not touching that, regardless of how great Gary Sanchez does.
I agree. I mean,
hopefully that's the question. I mean, I hope the series doesn't even have to go 5 games, but you're like Christian said with the offense, how you're not changing anything. You wouldn't change anything if Garrett Cole's still if he's striking out.
Yeah, if Higashi, I'm assuming Higashioka is going to start Monday night, and if Cole goes out there and dominates again, even if Gary goes berserk and hits 4 home runs in the series, he's going to be on the bench unless Stanton's completely dreadful in this series. It's the only way I could see him playing in game 5 if we get there.
Do you think this is a fair statement to all of our listeners out there? Let's just say we wake up tomorrow and we're shocked because Gary Sanchez is in the lineup. Boone feels like he deserves it, and he's going to catch, and Cole has a shit performance. Do you think it's fair to say, please don't fucking blame Aaron Boone or the Yankee organization, that Garrett Cole should be able to pitch to whoever is catching him?
It's fair, but
at that point, can we at least take it from a player level and say we're paying this guy $324 million or whatever it is, that if I feel Gary Sanchez, based on his last performance, should be in this lineup, that Garrett Cole should be able to pitch to him?
Yeah, I don't think you should blame anybody but Garrett Cole for having a bad performance if he does have one, regardless of who his catcher is.
And let's be real for a second. He's calling off Higashioka. It wasn't like an outing where Garrett Cole just went with every pitch Higashioka put down. There were times when he called him off a couple times.
They're friends. They're friends.
Yeah, they're friends. Yeah, great.
Gary Sanchez, if you want to pick which player has the most success against Blake Snell, it would be Gary Sanchez. 6 for 20, 5 of those 6 hits, home runs. He's got 7
I think a lot of that was early though. Gary hasn't fared well.
300 batting average, 481 on base percentage against Blake Snell.
I'm telling you,
I think he was 5 of 6 with 5 home runs, and then I think Snell's kind of evened it out lately.
Okay, all right, yeah.
If
so
I'm not
what
mistaken,
you've done lately, then sure, then it makes it an easier decision.
Would you be pissed before any outcome if Gary's in this lineup over Higgy with Cole on the mound?
No, I wouldn't.
No, because fuck Kyle Higashioka.
Right.
Yeah, fuck him.
I mean, like you said, it would be on.
I gotta
Cole
say
regardless.
though, other than the throw into the outfield, at least offensively, Higgy looked at least competitive up there. It wasn't like he lost.
Look, I don't want to hate on Kyle Higashioka. He is what he is, but just the fact that people think that he's got an S on his chest now all of a sudden, it's just ridiculous. I mean, he's Kyle Higashioka, 30-year-old minor leaguer, 4A player for a reason. He's not fucking Superman,
Right. I agree.
Not Superman.
All right, let's go. Prediction time here. We ran a poll. Let's see what the fans had to say here. I'm going to give some shout outs on the show too as we close it out. Prediction time. Yanks Rays. What do you got? Yanks sweep. 7% of the fans voted for that. Rays sweep. 2% of the fans voted for that. Yankees in 4 or 5 was the overwhelming favorite at 83%. And Rays in 4 or 5, 8%. So 10% of the people that voted in this think the Rays are winning the series. So I don't know if some Rays fans snuck in there, or if we got some pessimism here, but So, let's read some comments here. We'll give some shout outs here. Well, first, we're going to first shout out Zach the Bad Shepherd. We'll shout out Nick Barish. Patrick, we'll read his comment here. We really have to find some type of form. I don't know what that means, bud, but
I feel you.
A pitching form.
Maybe just a form against the fucking Rays, man. They've looked
He said
lost.
He said you never know what Yankees team is going to turn up. He has faith and thinks they'll do it in 4. We'll shout out JD35. Yankees at OG Sins gets a shout out. RB Beltran says the Yankees offense will come back to life. I think they were pretty alive in the Indian series.
I think he meant like they'll against the Rays again.
At S2K Supercharger posts a gif of some dudes sweating profusely and says, of course, everyone will pick the Yankees, but every Yankee fan is like this on the inside. Here we go. I'm not even clicking on this because your name is too long. We'll go. Mo Oslin Jr. gets a shout out. Robert says Yankees in 5. And Joe Wolf says, hate to jinx it. She's already panicking. Yanks in 5. So that's from Twitter. What do you guys got? Let's go around the room. We'll start with Ryan.
I'll say this. This isn't a rivalry yet, okay? Yankees, Rays, not a rivalry. Kevin Kiermaier, you want to come out and say, we don't like them, they don't like us. Kevin Cash, you want to tell us that you have guys that throw 98 in your bullpen, you're the 98ers, all of this bullshit. We haven't faced one another in October, and rivalries don't start until October. So all this banter, all this, oh yeah, you threw at Austin Romine, we're retaliating. That's banter, okay? But this is the postseason now, and the Yankees are going to win this series easily. They're not going to have to go into Tropicana. They don't have to play in that shithole ballpark. They're going to go to San Diego, win this series in 4 games. Yankees win in 4.
I love it. My turn?
Yeah, your turn.
Okay.
Is it my turn? Can I have a turn, please?
Can I pull a Christian here and say that if the Yankees win, it will be in 3 games? Because I have to imagine that if they're going to win this series, they're going to win with Garrett Cole on the mound tomorrow. They're going to win with Tanaka in a brilliant performance in game 2. And then at that point, I think they're just going to close the door. I really do. If the Rays win, it's going to be in those middle games. If the Rays win, it's going to be beating Garrett Cole in a game 5, which I don't think would happen. So I have to say the Yankees are going to win this series, and I have to take the sweep.
Fuck yeah.
I think the dog thinks the Yankees are winning too. He's getting all
Fucking riled up right now.
All right, so prediction time here. Chris thinks it's a sweep. Ryan says in 4. I'm sticking with Ryan here. I'm thinking the Yankees are going to win this in 4. I don't know. I just think the Rays are going to be a tough out. That's why I don't think they'll sweep them. But again, it's going to be back to what I said in game 1 of the Indian series. Garrett Cole's got you earned your check, Garrett, in game 1 in the wild card series. It doesn't mean that you can take the rest of the postseason off. You got to continue to earn these checks, big guy.
Right.
Go out there, keep cashing those, keep going out there, keep earning those checks, man. That's what you're here for. They don't like you. You don't like them. This is just what it comes down to right now. They are a bunch of scumbag pricks that we hate. The teams don't like each other either. This is not like some manufactured thing that the fans have made up in their own minds. The teams don't like each other. And it's super weird that the teams are staying in the same hotel, that they have to eat in the same cafeteria, that inside the bubble, the same rec room that they all have to use. It's super weird, but hey, you know what? When they have to check out after, Thursday, losing the series, it won't be weird for you.
Well, can I just say this? Worst case scenario, Garrett Cole pitches 2 games in this series, and you have to expect Garrett Cole to win those 2 games. So what does it take from there? 1 win from someone else. And that's why I predicted a sweep, because I think that they win game 1 with Cole, and I truly believe you are going to get a dominant performance from Masahiro Tanaka in game 2, where at that point I think the Yankees just close it up.
Yeah, I'm just not going to disrespect the Rays.
That's no disrespect. I think they're going to be a tough 3 games, but I
think that the Yankees are going to go in there and sweep them. But game 1, the Yankees are in trouble if they lose Monday night. I'm just going to say that, but I don't think they're going to be in trouble, because I think Garrett Cole is going to go out there and earn his money, just like he did in game 1 against the Indians.
But that's my thing. I think that you're just saying 4 to make yourself feel better, because if you really break it down to what is expected to happen, I think that you can rationally say 3 games. I think you're saying 4, but just solely for the fact that you don't want to say the Yankees are going to sweep, because the likelihood of 4 or 5 games is greater than one team sweeping the other.
No, I just think I expect the Rays to at least get a game here.
If the Yankees win game 1, do they win game 2?
With Glasnow on the mound, I can't put that one in the bank for the Yankees, no matter what Tanaka does.
If they lose that game, then are they going to win game 3?
It's another toss-up game.
I'm right, another toss-up, and then you have another one after that. So if they don't win the first 2 games, the Yankees probably don't win this series. But if they do win it, I think you've gotten yourself to a point where, with their backs against the wall and a young prick team, the Yankees close the door. And I think
I can also see the Yankees doing something stupid up 2-0 and not entirely going out there full force in game 3, especially if they used their bullpen in the first 2 games. I can definitely see something like that, where they might try to get through game 3 without using Chapman or Britton 3 days in a row. So that's another reason why I might also lean towards them in 4 games.
Well, I think if they do win it in 3, in that 3rd game, they're up 2-0 in the series. That 3rd game, they're going to rely the most on their offense. I mean, that's going to be where, if the Yankees are going to win the series in that game, they have to just fucking go all out.
Look, this is basically what it comes down to. The Rays ate your fucking lunch all year long. Now it's time to punch them in the mouth.
Yep. Absolutely.
And that's why I tweeted the other day, Garrett Cole's first pitch Monday night needs to be right under the fucking chin of whoever's leading off the game.
I agree.
I'm not saying hit him, but send them a message. Let them know I'm Garrett Cole. I pitch for the fucking Yankees, and we're tired of your bullshit. And yeah, you might have beaten us 8 out of 10 times in the regular season, but this is October now. This is where we shine. Go back and play in your dumpster.
I agree.
All right. So I think that pretty much should put a bow on it. It's going to be a very interesting series. I think this is out of what's left in the postseason, this is the sexiest of series here. I'm not real. I mean, the A's and the Astros, I mean, there's not really a lot of.
I'm pretty excited for the Dodgers Padres.
Well, it's all divisional games for the divisional round, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But you have the NL West versus
the Dodgers and Padres would be pretty interesting, but then you got the Braves and Marlins on the other side. It's a nice little story with the Marlins. I'm rooting for Don Mattingly, of course, but again, it's not something that's really going to take over a lot of time.
Still undefeated in postseason series, the Miami Marlins.
What if they win the World Series this year? Wouldn't that be fucked up?
Unreal.
No, can't deal with that.
They went from almost canceling the entire season because of their COVID outbreak to winning the World Series.
I mean, they're
the anti-Cincinnati Reds.
16 straight games being canceled now, and then they played 53 games in 44 days.
That was the Cardinals.
That was the Cardinals. Sorry,
they played a lot of games though.
But
too.
the Cardinals really, did something outstanding to make it to where they were.
Yeah,
but even the Marlins
did something really outstanding to not close out that series.
Yeah,
I mean, come on, guys.
You tweeted this. A lot of other people tweeted it, right?
Tweeted it.
7 central teams from the AL and NL all eliminated in the first round. Wild.
Fraud.
They're fucking frauds. They're the decoy division. They're just there to fucking as a placeholder.
All right, so I mean, it's October baseball. It's going to be stressful. You're going to wish that you were dead after game 1, probably. But what's the alternative?
To be alive.
Not watching the Yankees in the postseason. I'll take this.
I really thought, I'm not kidding. Like, we're all getting older here. It's your birthday today. In game 1, I was almost like I might have to walk away because my heart was beating so fast.
In game 1?
In game 2, sorry. My heart was beating so fast, I honestly thought I was having a heart attack at one point.
No, it was pretty. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty.
Yeah,
bad.
I don't know if I would have been able to do game 3 of that series.
You know, the Yankees can alleviate all this for all of us and just go out there and smash the Rays pitching and sweep the
fuck them.
series.
Yeah,
Honestly, fuck the Rays, dude. Fuck them. Seriously, fuck the Rays. Seriously,
Yeah.
that is the Yankee motto right now. I promise you, going into this fucking game, fuck the Rays. That's all they're saying.
We can hashtag it FTR on Twitter.
Fuck it.
Where'd you go?
Hello?
Hello?
He's here, we're here.
I unplugged the camera by accident.
All right. Well, let's just
Okay.
wrap up the show
Okay.
here. Okay. So hashtag FTR on Twitter. Fuck the Rays. Let's go Yankees. Thank you for listening to episode 196 of the NYYST podcast. Follow us on Twitter at NYY Sports Talk. Stat Guy Ryan, you want them to follow you?
Yeah, follow me over at @StatGuyRye_NYYST.
At Chris Jr. _NYYST.
At Christian_NYYST. Thank you for listening. Let's go Yankees. And I stole your gimmick, Stat Guy.
Okay, I'll just say this: FTR.
All right, Chris, say goodbye.
Peace.